What's up YouTube, Del here from Zephyr, and today I am bringing you a very spicy update to Dark Worlds. Now this time it's actually going to involve the brand new TCG exclusive, the Mitsurugis. Now the benefit of this one is it gives you a little bit more. It means you can utilize a card like Cross Sheep. It kind of replaces your normal summon of the decks. You don't need to really rely so heavily on something like the Guardian or of course Ken and Gen. It gives you another bit of a dynamic to help you complete a hand rip if you wanted to, while also setting you up some form of negation, and then it can also lead its way into either making rank 4s or rank 8s depending on what you might need. So the original idea of the Mitsurugis was not mine, it was actually on Discord from Dozo0545. They were the ones that first brought together the two Dark Worlds and the Mitsurugis, and I thought it was a really kind of cool idea. I've been talking to them back and forth, and then I decided to make an update utilising my own version. So with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. Starting off with the Dark World cards, again, very standard on this one of Triple Genta, alongside Triple Snow, and then of course Triple Rainbow, Double Greffa, one Cerulli, and one Silver. Now you can play two Silver if you want to, it really is up to you. The kind of idea behind this is you want to minimise where it's all possible, and this was one of the ones I kind of felt, okay, I'm not completely tied to having it at 2. I know a lot of people don't agree with that. I know a lot of people want to play 3 of the gates as well. It's just personal preference that has worked for me in the past, and it's something that's going to stick with me for at the moment. I'm not opposed to you adding in a second Silver. There are some times where I will put in a second Silver, but for now, this is a ratio that's worked for me. And then for the dangers, I went with 2 Nessie, 2 Jackalope, and 2 Mothman with the 1 Salamander. Again, Salamander, some people don't like, some people do like. It really is up to you. You have flexibility in this deck. I wouldn't say go and net deck a deck outright because it won't always work with your particular playstyle. But what you're trying to see is you're trying to find compromises for what works and what doesn't work for you personally. Some people like to play the Blackwing Zeros, the one that allows you to pay 400 life points to bounce back to the field. That one was obviously very, very important as well. It really does come down to your playstyle. These are the particular danger lineup that I quite like. Again, adapt it as you see fit. For the spells, we are playing 2 Gate of the Dark World, followed up by the 1 Archives, 1 Corridor, 1 Accession. And then we're also utilising 2 Allure of Darknesses, and then we are utilising the standard 1 True Tactic Talents and 2 Frosts. Frost obviously helps you get into Corridor. It can help you technically get into Allure of Darkness, not that you're always going to go that route. You've also got Triple Tactic Talents, and then when we get to the side deck, you'll see some of the other cards that this can directly get you access to, which will really, really stump your opponent. The last card before I go onto the Mitsurugis is I am decided to main deck Book of Eclipse. Now this is just a card that's working for me in this particular format. When it stops working for me, I'll take it out. So this is 3 slots that you can adapt to whatever you want. You can play more dangers, you can put in Silver, you can put in another Cerulli, you can put in more Mitsurugis. It's just one of the cards that's really, really helped me go in second against stuff like Ryzeals, and you can never be guaranteed to win the dice roll. If I win the dice roll, I have no issue discarding these, and if I do feel that I'm not going to be able to complete a hand rip or complete an OTK, FTK, whatever during my first turn, then I have no issue setting one of these cards. If I feel that I can complete the OTK, complete the lockdown, complete whatever I need to, then of course I just discard these as and when I see fit off of the back of stuff like, of course, the dangers. Now on top of that as well, if you do want to take these out, another card that I would highly advise you to consider is you can consider some Bestials. You can put Bestials in the side, you can put them in the main, it is up to you. The one difference with the Bestials is they obviously do provide you with level, so they can be tribute fodder for the Mitsurugi should you need to. Speaking of the Mitsurugi, so your main normal summon is now going to be Sugi. So this is the one that is on normal or special, or if it is tributed, you get to add a Mitsurugi spell or trap from your deck to your hand. If another reptile monster or monsters you control would be destroyed by battle or card effects, you get to tribute this card instead. So the spells that you're going to be searching in this deck will be 1 of the prayers and 1 of the ritual. So the prayers is the quick play, so when you activate this card you can also tribute a reptile monster in your hand or field to apply one of the following effects, or if you tributed a monster at activation you can apply both. Add a Mitsurugi monster from the deck to the hand, take 800 damage, and then you get to special summon a Mitsurugi monster from your hand or graveyard, but it can't attack directly. So again, it's quite useful if you're able to get this to the graveyard. More times than not, the reptile monster you're probably going to want to be tributing off with this will be something like King of the Feral Imps, because you can make this as a generic rank 4 target, search out your normal summon in the form of the Sugi, and then of course you normal summon the Sugi, get you your prez or the ritual, depending on which one you needed, and then go from there. The other one we're playing is the one Kusanagi. So if this one is normal or special or it is attributed, you get to target a Mitsurugi card in your graveyard or banishment, except itself, and then add it to your hand. If another reptile monster or monsters you control would be destroyed by a battle or card effect, you tribute this card instead. Now the reason that we're relying on the Saji first is the Saji you obviously don't need any setup for. You just normal summon it, search out what you need to, whereas the Kusanagi does require you to have some form of setup, which is also where the Allure of Darkness comes into play, because technically if you do hard open this up, you can Allure, get rid of the Saji, and then you just go, okay cool, normal summon this down, and then go from there. It's obviously still not going to be the best one because it allows you to add it to the hand, and the ones you're going to want to add to the hand if they do get banished will be your ritual monsters, because if you add the Saji, you're not going to be able to get it back to the board as easy. So the two ritual monsters, of course, you've got your defender in the form of the Ame no Mukuromo. So you can ritual summon this card with the Mitsurugi ritual. If this card is special summoned, you get to destroy all monsters your opponent controls. And then when your opponent activates a card or effect, quick effect, you get to activate this effect. Your opponent can discard one card or the effect is negated. If this card is tributed, you get to add a Mitsurugi card from your deck to the hand, except itself, and then you get to special summon this card. You can only use each effect once per turn. Now the best thing about this is once you successfully ritual summon it, that is where the access of being able to utilize it back from the grave with the Alba Q is going to come into play, because you can technically just bring it back and then nuke their board. Then of course you've got your aggressor in the Futso. So this one again, you can ritual summon it with a Mitsurugi ritual. If your opponent special summons a monster or monsters except during damage state, you target a reptile monster in your graveyard except itself and special summon it. You can only use this effect once per turn, once per chain, sorry. If this card is tributed, you get to add a Mitsurugi card from the deck to your hand, except itself, and then you get to special summon this card. You can only use each effect once per turn. I did realise that I've skipped over the ritual, so just so you understand why this card is being incredibly hyped, not just for like the Dark World element, but the reason this card is so hyped is it can be used to ritual summon any reptile ritual monster, and you get to activate one of these effects, but you can only use each effect once per turn. You ritual summon a reptile ritual monster from your deck by tributing reptile monsters from your hand or field whose total levels equal the level of the ritual monster. Ritual summon one reptile ritual monster from your hand by tributing up to 2 reptile monsters from the hand, deck, or field whose total levels equal the level of the ritual monster. So the idea is if you do open up the Saji and you normal summon the Saji and you search out the ritual, you will then be able to overlay the Saji and another one in order to search you out the Ame no Makomo. And then of course if you use Saji to search out the ritual spell, you can activate this to ritual this from the hand. You just get to use the Mitsurugis in the deck instead. So there's ways of being able to utilize it. So normal summon Saji, search out Prez if you need the extender, but chances are with Dark World you don't. So you just normal summon a Saji, get another level 4 to the board, searching out the ritual spell, overlay the 2 of those into King of the Feral Imps, search out the Ame no Moko, and then activate the ritual, tributing off through the deck your 2 Mitsurugis to give you this, and then this gives you the ability of ripping one from your opponent's hand, or you can negate what they activate. So if they activate Nibiru, you're just going to go, okay, cool, activate this. And they're going to have to either let Nibiru be negated, or they're going to have to rip another card from their hand just for Nibiru to resolve. If you're then able to push through with the rest of your Dark World cards, you're then already leaving them with 3 cards in the hand for when they top deck. So if you're able to keep on going and then complete a Ceruli loop twice with Silver, you're going to be able to rip the last 2 cards from their hand and they're going to have nothing left. So that's why I thought the Mitsurugis were kind of cool. Like I said, it can also help you trigger off the Cross Sheep. It can get you into your Daguerres as well, which is going to help your Dark World strategy. And it kind of just gives you a little bit more. I thought it was kind of a fun little element, so shout out to Dozo on that one again. Moving into the extra deck, of course, we've got 2 Grapha Fusions. For the XYZs, we've got the 1 Baguska, 1 King of the Feral Imp, so generic rank generic rank 4, detach material to add a reptile from the deck to the hand. And then Daguerres, pretty standard. And then we just got some staple in the form of Nightmare Phoenix, followed up by IP Masquerena, SP Little Knight. We also do play the Muckraker, and then we do play the Cross Sheep. Now the reason the Cross Sheep is so cool is in this deck you actually utilise XYZs, Fusions, and Rituals. You could, if you wanted to, utilise Synchros as well. But the benefit of Cross Sheep, and this is what a lot of people don't understand, is you don't always have to trigger it when a monster is summoned to a zone it points to. Now what I mean by that is, I'm just going to clear these out so I can give you a bit of a visual representation. If you make Cross Sheep, and you were to Fusion summon your Grepher Fusion, okay? You don't need to trigger Cross Sheep right here, right now. You actually can wait. And then what you do is, as you move your combos further forward, considering that Grepher's got the negate to protect, when you ritual summon here, you can then trigger off Cross Sheep. That will allow you to do both effects because it points to a ritual and a fusion. So this will then allow you to revive one from the grave of level 4 or lower, which can be the Mitsurugis you've just tributed from the deck to ritual summon this card. And on top of that, you get to draw 2 cards and then discard 2 cards as effect. So if you draw 2 cards and then discard 2 cards, it's basically like having a Daguerreo's. It will trigger off your Dark Worlds, which is absolutely insane. So if a monster is special summoned to a zone this card points to, you can apply the following effects in sequence based on the cards of the monsters that this card points to. So, even though the fusion monster wasn't summoned at that particular point, because it points to them when this card is special summoned, you'll get both the effects off, which is incredibly insane, because like I said, not only will you draw 2 and discard 2, which will set you up your Dark World plays, but it also allows you to revive one from the graveyard, which will be the Mitsurugis you have literally just sent there when you ritual summon off this, which then opens up the door for more rank 4 plays, or you just start bouncing them back, and that's how you're going to work your way back to get the Grepher back that you might have used in your hand to fusion summon this guy. And then the other links that we are playing, of course, is the Q. I just really like this card. A lot of people aren't the biggest fan of it. I still think it's really good. I think in the Mitsurugi version as well, the fact you can loop this back is great. You can loop back your IP Masquerena, and you can also loop back your Nightmare Griffin. If you can't complete a hand for it, because maybe they've stopped your silver or stopped the Cerulli or whatever, but the idea is you still have loads of different alternatives. That it doesn't need to be that only win con. You have the ability to OTK them, you have the ability to technical skill drain lock them, you have loads of different options. I'm still also playing the Zelantis off of the Muckraker loop. Again, you can cut this out if you want to. Really is up to you. It opens up an extra space. And of course, we've got the one Skuldred Saruja. So the way that this works, as I mentioned in pretty much all of my builds, is you make Saruja first, and then you link Saruja off into the World Sea Dragon Zelantis. Then with more extension, you make your way into the Muckraker. Use Muckraker's effect to discard a card, revive a fiend, locking you into fiends. And then use Zelantis' effect to banish the entire board. And then because you're the one bringing the monsters back, you can only bring back fiends to either player's board. And then that pretty much stumps your opponent. So that's it for the entire main deck and the extra deck. I'm now going to show you a demo side deck. So I'm going to work my way back on this one. I'm going to show you the traps first. And the reason I'm going to do that is because working through the traps to the spells and then the monsters shows you what else you can search over Triple Tactics Frost. So the cards I chose to go through with the Triple Tactics Frost was Artifact Sanctum, mainly for the Malice matchup. I'm then trialing out the Destructive Daruma Cannon. So this is obviously for a Link matchup in the form of Malice, but any other random Link matchup as well. D-Barrier for XYZ matchups. Eradicator for those odd control style decks, whether you face a random rogue Argo Star or whether you end up facing Labyrinth, you have that option. If you're not the biggest fan of this one, another one you can consider is Deck Devi. Deck Devi can cause a little bit of issue to Ryzeals and Malices within reason, but it's kind of these options, you can change them out or you double up on some of these other cards. For the spells, I went with Harpy's Feather Duster, Change of Heart, and Mind Control. Again, all of these could be set off of Frost, so you're technically playing more copies of them. The only thing that I would consider changing some of these out for would be something like Forbidden Droplet. But even then, you don't really want to be sending loads of cards. You want to be able to discard. That's when you're going to get more advantage from them. So these are just ones that I thought were really good board breakers. I didn't want to play something like Raigeki because the chances are if I played Raigeki, my opponent would be able to dodge around them. Whereas I thought if I activated something like Mind Control or Change of Heart, I could take my opponent's Detonator and then that would cause them a couple of issues because then every time they tried to activate effect in response, I would just go, cool, Detonator, pop, and kind of work it back from there. And then for the monsters, obviously, I went with Droll and Lockbird. One Artifact Lancier. Now, again, this is really up to you. The reason I got with one Artifact Lancier is because technically the way I look at it is I've also got 2 Frost that would let me into Sanctum, but the reason for that is my locals, there's only like 2 or 3 Malice players. More of them are Ryzeals, so it's less effective. That being said, if you go to an environment where it's all Malice, you'd definitely be looking at playing 3 Lancier, and the reason that you would do that for is you'd start looking at maybe taking out one of the Virus cards, or you'd take out the Destructive Daruma Cannon, because I feel that this is going to be a little bit more important against Malice and a little bit more consistent, which is why you'd prioritize that in that particular scenario. And the last cards that I'm playing is the Lava Golem, because no matter what my opponent has, if they have Detonator and the Mitsurugi, if they have it's a little bit weak against Malice if they don't put 2 monsters on the board. But the idea is, again, you would take out your Mitsurugis, and then that starts opening up 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 spots in the main deck. So you'd go very easy side in. You go, right, I'm against Malice, so we'll go 1. You'd probably go, if you're going second, you go 1, 2, 3, 4 guaranteed, and then you probably go 5, 6, 7 in case they get a little bit exuberant and leave more monsters on the board. Or if you're going first, again, very easy, you take out the Mitsurugis, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, straight away a very easy swap. You go Drolls on the crap back. So you've got loads you can kind of play around with. And then if my opponent puts a Detonator plus a DDD High Wave King on the board, I just go, cool, Lava Golem, get rid of both. And then I don't really need to worry about anything apart from cross detaching from Duo Drive. And the only reason that they will detach from Duo Drive is if they've been negated previously and they haven't been able to get their double search off. So again, side deck is flexible. You adapt it to the environment you'll go into. Some of these cards won't work for you in that environment. Some of them will. This just kind of give you an idea of what you could be looking at. Something like alternative normal summons for the deck. So Mitsurugi's out, Lava Golem's in. The particular format hand trap, so Droll and Lancer, because obviously Mitsurugi Rise, you'll search a heck of a lot. So do Fiendsmith variants. And then of course you've got your Lancers to deal with your Malice matchups. And then you've just got your generic kind of like esque board breakers. I didn't want to focus on something like Raigeki just because I know there are some decks out there that can dodge or that have the ability to not be destroyed, and that makes it a little bit more awkward. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to steal your monster and then either use it as link fodder or I'm going to use it to disrupt you. And it kind of is those times when people used to mind control or change of heart a Appaloosa so they had the negates on the board. And that's pretty much it. If you do have any questions at all, as always, put them down in the comments and I'll be more than happy to answer them for you. Now, I'm not saying that this is the most broken version of Dark World at all. It was just an option that I saw, and I'd had some of the Mitsurugi cards that I'd picked up in trade, and I was like, you know what, I've been looking for a deck that kind of works with them. And then, of course, Dozo kind of brought this to light, and I was like, nice. I get to update one of my favorite decks and then utilize it in a different way to kind of see how it can be utilized. And I really like Cross Sheep as a card in general. I think it never really worked in Dark World just because you didn't always want to be bringing back your level 4s. But the fact of the matter is, with that hidden synergy of being able to draw 2, ditch 2 to trigger off Dark World, and then revive the Mitsurugis you sent from deck to the grave to then give you more hand advantage was just incredible. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, as absolutely always, stay safe and, of course, happy dueling.